731 Suffolk Boulevard. There's a little storefront store, and in that thing on the weekends and on different nights, there's a man there that really takes young people, and this is just a block away where the young boy couple is killed, but where crack is so entrenched, drugs are so entrenched in there that the young kids can pick up a vial just walking down the street and almost smell it if they want to.
I would like to introduce myself once again. My name is Abdul Mutakabbir. And the culture center that we have on Suffolk Boulevard, 107-31 Suffolk Boulevard, is called SWAM.
Konnichiwa. This is Israel Lopez, Sensei of the Martial Maze. Up until this point, you've been introduced to some of the Grand Masters of SWAM, and we hope you enjoyed those episodes. But now, it's time to meet the founder, Sijo Abdul Mutakabbir. For those that don't know, Sijo has been teaching the art of streetology for well over 4 decades. Established in 1977, SWAM is more than just a physical martial arts school. It's a program that continues to change lives for young men and women in the inner cities of New York, Atlanta, and Peru. Yes, Peru. There's so much to cover here. We hope we don't run out of time, so let's get to it.
Straight, will, learn, mind, strong, wise, achieving, mind, and maturity.
So when I move again, see we in the fight, so we moving, right? Move, see I'm in it. See one, see? And I'm finishing here, right? I'm already finishing.
Inspiration that started me out on my martial art journey. Well, I think it was when I first went to a martial arts school when I was 11 years old, accompanied by my sister and her friend. And I witnessed the discipline and the patience that these great warriors was undertaking. And it inspired me from then on for the rest of my life.
So during the time that Sijo was coming up, the pursuit of martial knowledge was very limited, where even all we know, navigating the martial maze is still very complicated. Now imagine what it was like back then. They didn't have Google, and the yellow pages were filled with commercial dojos, some McDojos, and hardcore schools were hidden. Some, however, were hidden in plain sight, like your local YMCA or your community center. However, most schools were hidden and you could only find them through word of mouth or someone recommending you to the master of that school. Now, not to mention, there was a lot of charlatans out there, a lot of Bushido, a lot of chop suey schools. So the vetting a potential martial arts school or instructor could sometimes prove to be hazardous to your health. I mean, really, imagine walking into a dojo or kun saying to the head of that school, I need to challenge you. Now that approach works great in Kung Fu movies, but not so much in real life. The struggle was real, folks.
Well, Chinatown was closed off to non-Chinese.
Okay, all right.
You couldn't even know where the dojo was, and if you did, they weren't taking us at that time.
Okay. Despite those possible pitfalls, the allure to learn the mystical, amazing, and sometimes impossible warrior arts made the risk worthwhile. The possibility to become a real-life superhero was very real and could be achieved simply by dedicating oneself to a lifetime of not only superior combative abilities, but a higher sense of purpose through spiritual meditation as well. A well-trained martial artist could do the impossible. Take on 3 or more attackers and the odds would still be in the martial artist's favor. Not only to survive the altercation, but to have bested all the attackers decisively.
So we come in one. See, I bring him to me. See that? See that? See, you only seeing this. Y'all see what y'all want to see. You ain't see what I'm showing y'all. See, y'all thought I was just doing. Y'all thought I was just doing this. I'm not doing that. See, I'm going here. That first. Then I'm coming around like that. Yeah, heck of a shot. That's a killer shot. So now when I'm kicking him here, I'm not kicking him. Look. See my kick? I'm not kicking him in his groin. For practice, I'm kicking him that. Because I'm going to pop and roll. Okay? I don't feel like rolling.
You can still do it.
Yeah, I can still do it, but I ain't trying it. 1, 2, in. See? Got to controlling him. Still around. See, his hand will still be up. His survival will still protect him.
What was the different arts that I trained with over the years? Well, there were several. I trained under 20 different masters since the time I've started at the age of 11 years old, up until now at 70 years old. All forms of different Kung Fu systems. I've trained under the great Moses Powell, Grandmaster, Supreme Grandmaster Moses Powell in the snooker system, Supreme Grandmaster Abdul Mutakabbir in the karate system, Supreme Grandmaster Frederick Hamilton, and many, many more. And I have learned to be able to put these arts together and create my own art called the SWAM.
Through the study and practice of the martial arts, many a sifu or sensei found ways to reach young brothers and sisters to not only enhance their physical abilities, but also help guide them with best practices to help navigate and enrich their lives. Because after all, with great power comes great responsibility.
Did the stand-up address grappling? Well, coming up in Harlem or New York City, we never believed in going to the ground. Our teachers used to teach us if you can't stand, you can't fight. So in the beginning, when we started training and so forth, in the 60s and the 70s, you never heard anybody going to the ground, or you heard wrestlers in the South. But one of the reasons why I studied grappling, because I wanted to address that, because I knew, being in the South, a lot of people basically study wrestling and they study grappling. So I studied Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for about 18 years under the great Supreme Grandmaster Jacare. And so I learned to be able to kind of like harmonize the stand-up with the ground. So I addressed the ground with the stand-up and addressed the stand-up with the ground.
I can tell you what I'm doing, see if you see what I'm doing.
Yes, sir. The FuJuKa Boxing System addresses both stand-up and ground fighting. And here we see some examples of that.
Move my body. Remember, LG
do you think is the special flavor that the so-called African American brings to the martial arts? I think what we bring is a different type of swagger, because our algorithm is different than the Orientals, and different than the Europeans, and different, for that matter, different than everybody. You know, not just in the martial arts, but in anything, in dancing and any different type of cultural activity and so forth. We're different. So, you know, a lot of times people look at us from a distance, and, you know, and they admire us and they copy us. This has always been.
Right. So I move the circle, get the nose, go around, pop around here, spin around here, snap.
What is the difference between static movements and flowing movements? Again, Supreme Grandmaster Moses probably say, you can't tell a man he's stiff when he flows like water. Bruce Lee said, you know, be like water. So I always, my art is a fluid type of martial arts. We always talk about the SWAM flow, because what happens is that when you're static, you know, you're somewhat predictable. But when you flow, you know, there's no predictability in it, because, you know, it's more of an intuitive motion. Like Muhammad Ali, for instance.
Ah, flow. I believe this is the cornerstone of any good martial arts system, especially when it comes to flow drills. This type of practice allots for the pragmatic movements between the practitioner receiving and the practitioner giving. This is done in a controlled environment where mistakes can be made and corrected without the risk of one's life. Where this kind of looks like dancing, we must keep in mind that while it's being practiced, the number one rule is still being followed. And for those that don't know, the number one rule is your first action or combination of actions should have the ability or probability to neutralize the perceived threat. Haskins 101.
My spirituality changed since I've been in the martial arts? Absolutely. Now that I am Muslim, when I first started martial arts, I wasn't a Muslim. You know, basically my nickname in the martial art world during the days of Sunnyside Gardens was basically, they used to call me Savage Jackson. That's when I came up with Earl Bennett and Abdul Mutakabbir, and basically great warriors fought in that arena and so forth, and everybody had a nickname of some ferociousness with it. But as I retired within a 7-year period, and was into the Nation of Islam, and then under the Imam Worthy Muhammad, may Allah be merciful and soul, ground in paradise, and I became Abdul Mutakabbir. And as I went back to Abdul Mutakabbir, I had a different type of purpose in competing. And my purpose was basically for the cause of perpetuating the religion of Islam and become a more spiritual example. And so it definitely changed my way.
Thank Almighty God Allah for blessing me with the opportunity and the talent to be able to come before all you beautiful people and to demonstrate the jewels that Allah has bestowed upon me. I would like to introduce myself once again. My name is Abdul Mutakabbir, and the culture center that we have on Southern Boulevard, 107-31 Southern Boulevard, is called SWAM. It's an acronym that stands for the two instructors named that are the founders of that particular culture center, which means Shogun Woken Abdul Mutakabbir. That was the physical step that we first took as far as developing this name. It later on arrived into a stronger meaning in the community, which means strong, wise, achieving mind, strength, wisdom, alert mind, and maturity. The strength we're talking about first is spiritual strength. The strength to be able to protect ourselves against the diabolic satanic mentality, the mind that brings down man to the lowest of the low. The wisdom is the food for thought, the vitamins of the brain. These are the type of conversation we normally get in with each other in the culture center to be able to strengthen ourselves against the negativity that's outside of the doors of SWAM. In order for us to be able to have strength and wisdom, we must be alert. The A in SWAM means alert. In order for us to achieve anything in life, we must be alert. And man means mind, and mind means man. So that's basically what SWAM means. So we say strength, wisdom, alert mind, strong, wise, achieving mind, and maturity. Because when you have those particular four forces with you, then you have to mature. Our main priority in SWAM is discipline. Working with the youth is a pleasure to me. Discipline, I teach the children, mean to be able to have the ability to take charge of one's mind, body, and spirit at all times. But we realize that our children today are our leaders tomorrow, so they're the most important part of our existence.
I mean, the spirit is what keeps, that's your foundation, first and foremost. Without that, you're like an egg with no yolk. So the spirit part, or whether it's you being spiritual or you being religious, it's what keeps you grounded. All right. So it's like, for instance, come on, you gotta think of it like this, right? It's like giving a gun to a child without proper education. You're a loaded weapon. All right, you're literally a loaded weapon. And what happens is that without that kind of mental training and spiritual fortitude, what happens is that you make these rash choices in life. All right, and the spirit is what keeps you grounded from making those kind of choices. I mean, we see it all the time because we're highly competitive. We're human beings. We're highly competitive. By nature, our ego, our pride, a lot of that gets ahead of us, and it kind of takes the steering wheel for us. And we got to learn, we can't get rid of these things. We have to learn to keep them at bay, and that's what the art teaches us, to keep it at bay.
Some of the benefits from Tai Chi. To relax your body, calm your mind. Relaxation and calmness is completely different. Relaxation belongs to the body. Calmness belongs to the mind. It'll be able to help you to understand the breathing. It'll be able to make you more focused on your posture. It'll be able to, Tai Chi also helps you to be able to heal your internals, your organs. And overall, it just gives you longevity and peace of life.
You gotta touch me. Right, there you go. Short blows. That's how you learn what your jiu-jitsu. Try to catch it. See? Cause you think you're gonna just get a guy in a lock like this way. So you gotta work your lock. Right, see, I gotta catch my lock. I gotta work for my lock. Yes, sir.
What are the difference between traditional martial arts and combative martial arts in the street? Well, I have a saying in SWAM. I say we must make the classical applicable so it can become practical. You always have to streetmatize your martial arts. Because what happens is we're dealing with individuals in the street that are like beasts in human form. They're like savages. And there's no rules in the street. There's only one rule. I survive. So it's like this. You know, you have to basically make your martial arts according to the time period that you're in right now. You know, I mean, we have a thing where we practice the martial arts, especially for self-defense. We step back and throw a punch and whatever and so forth, and we kind of like, you know, go through our drills off that. But in the reality is that nobody comes at you with just one punch. People come at you with multiple punches and so forth. And all martial arts, all techniques displayed in the martial arts is not real. It's only real when it happens. All things to me, our philosophy, our methodology in SWAM is that everything is just drills. And that's how we develop our skills.
I feel like even though we've learned a lot today, there is so much more left to learn. Really, we really didn't scratch the surface. But what we know for sure is that Sijo Abdul Mutakabbir and all the grandmasters of SWAM are not hobbyists that happen to study the martial arts. For all the members of SWAM, this is a lifelong journey. For them, it's not just about how well you can fight or defend yourself. It's about so much more. Ask yourself this: when you inevitably leave this earth, what mark will you have left on those who have come after you? It's definitely one to ponder. Next on Modern Combatives, it's all been building up to this.
My brother called upon me, and when he called upon the whole clan, it was over 1,000 deep.
We had to deal with, the drug dealers.
They were taking over buildings.
Yeah, the drugs are so bad at this point that even the police couldn't do anything.
Some of the biggest drug lords, the Fat Cats and Supremes.
With drugs and violence growing out of control, people turned to the pillars of their community.
The people in the community became very afraid. So they basically came to me and asked, do I know of anything or anybody to be able to help?
This is a story about martial artists stepping up to defend their community.
SWAM, SWAM, strong, wise, achieving mind, strength, wisdom, alert mind.
A Marshall Mays Special Edition.
Hello, Sidagu. How are you and Sijo doing?
Hey, Aziz. Good to hear your voice.
I'm on the road like always. I had a question though. I know that the original dojo or your original school was located in South Jamaica, Queens, New York. I'm not sure if I asked, but I am curious. How did you go from the craziness that's New York to living in Swanee, Georgia?
So you wanted to know why we left New York and moved to Atlanta, Georgia? There's actually a couple of main reasons, but I'm going to mention one to you. It's known within the SWAM circle as a siege.
What? The siege? Hold on, let me pull over.
For those that definitely enjoyed this episode and want to learn more about Sijo Abdul Mutakabbir and his martial journey, the Sacred Dojo, the Wisdom and Methodology of the SWAM, releases August 16th, and you could reserve your copy now at SijoMutakabbir.com.